The PTR is finally over, and now it is time to discuss our general feedback for Season 6 of Diablo 4. So let's dive in. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is the number crunch. So, early game, the number crunch feels really good. It looks clean. In the late game, the number crunch pretty much does nothing. We're still getting pretty large numbers here, and some of this might be caused by some of the builds having crazy bugs that they're getting exorbitantly high numbers, but I still think the numbers are a bit high. So the number crunch overall is good, but in the end game, it's pretty non-existent outside the armor requirement cap, in my opinion here. With the leveling requirement, 1 to 60 felt pretty good overall, honestly, and also it seems like the best way to level up now is starting at level 36 or 37. You start running the strongholds to hit 60, which is fine. Gives us incentive to do those strongholds and unlock the entire map, so it's really not a problem in my opinion. Unfortunately, they gave us 200 Paragon points at the end game, so once you hit 60, we really couldn't test any of the progression for 1 to 200 there, let alone 1 to 300. I would have liked to test the progression speed of the Paragon from 1 to 300 in the first 2 days there, but we didn't get it. But in my 20 plus hours of testing from Paragon 200, we got to about Paragon 225, which might be okay. I'm really not sure. Didn't get to test too much on that, so I can't. It would have been a lot nicer if we got to see how the progression felt for the Paragon points for 1 to 200 there. Next, we'll talk about the difficulty settings. I think the 1 to 60 with normal to Penitent is fine. I do think Penitent could be made available a little bit earlier than level 50, but other than that, it felt pretty good. Torments 1 through 4 actually, I think, is good for some, worse for others. If you're playing a meta build, the 1 to 4 Torment grind can feel like a breeze, where if you're playing a more outlier build of a class, this actually will feel a lot more difficult because you're not going to be scaling the same way as these other class builds are. So you're going to find yourself grinding in some of those Torment tiers for some better gear, as well as upgrading your glyphs just so you can move on and progress to the next Torment tier. And I feel some of those outlier classes that are a little bit weaker than those meta builds do feel a little bit worse overall. And it actually feels a little maybe too difficult, especially with testing our Shred Druid. We found getting to Torment 4 was very, very, very difficult. So I think there's some balancing that's required for some of the weaker builds for some of the classes, so this experience could be smoother for all, so everyone can kind of enjoy that grind through Torment 1 to Torment 4. So overall, the leveling experience, it's okay, but it could be better in the Torment grind. So we're going to talk very briefly on rune words, because when I was doing my testing, I was testing a lot of the progression without using the rune words or mythics to get a feel how mandatory these mechanics would be in the new season. So I did find with my little testing that only a few rune word combinations actually felt good with what I was doing, and also in watching and reading on other people's experiences, a lot of rune words just didn't feel very good, and there's only a few kind of combination of rune words that actually were feeling much better when used together compared to other rune words. So I think some sort of adjustment can be made here to make the more of the runes feel better and more impactful during your journey and progression through the new season of Diablo 4. All right, now let's talk about the loot. So the loot with the new number crunch felt good, working to level 60. After hitting level 60 and getting into Torment 1 to Torment 4, things start to change. You start getting your first item level 750 gear, and you start to feel great. But after this, when you require those ancestrals for your upgrades, it starts to trickle in very slowly and really starts to slow down your progression here. On top of that, getting ancestral uniques is now very difficult, especially when seeking specific pieces of gear and you're running those torment bosses. So you're not going to find them as easy, and it's actually feeling not the greatest. Then also, starting Torment 1, your Tree of Whisper rewards become useless. They are not dropping item level 750 gear. On top of that, I do not think they will be dropping Ancestrals because they're not dropping even item level 750 gear in those Whisper caches. So I think they should adjust that, because basically in Torment 1 moving forward, Whisper Tree caches become useless, and they had just started trying to make them useful again. So hopefully that gets addressed. But all in all, I think the Ancestral drop rates most likely need to get tweaked the higher into the Torment levels you actually dive, because right now it feels bad not getting any kind of Ancestral drops as you are grinding through Torment 1 to 4. You're rarely seeing them, and it really is just making the grind not feel good. So as you move through Torment 1 through 4, there should be some sort of adjustment to kind of make the progression feel better, where you're seeing more of those Ancestral drops become available to you. So my closing thoughts here. While I think there are some things that do need to be addressed, I don't feel the season is looking awful. It's not looking great, but it's not looking awful. I would say overall I had a pretty good time in the PTR, and I think we'll get a better idea of how things are going to feel once we get access to the additional activities in the expansion as well. So hopefully we get some more balancing and fixes before the release here on October 8th, and Diablo 4 will be in a good state for Season 6 and the expansion of Diablo 4. So, is D4 bad? Is D4 good? I think after the PTR, we all can mostly agree it felt pretty mid, but it could be good if they are able to address some of the balancing and bugs that we have experienced here in the PTR. So if you want to see our feedback on the Werewolf Druid, you can check out the video here, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one, everyone.